All right, let's get right into it. Kendrick Lamar Squabble Up video. We're going on an extreme Easter egg hunt in this one because there's a lot of references, there's a lot of messaging in the video. So let's get started. I split them up into 7 scenes. So I'm gonna go scene by scene as far as the explanations go, but we're going to jump ahead a little bit to the middle of the video and the Soul Train scramble board. Now, if you're not old enough to know, Soul Train was a very important launching point TV show, dance TV show. And dancing, of course, is a theme throughout this video and throughout most of Kendrick's videos during this year. But for R&B acts, for Black Soul acts during the 70s and the 80s and some of the 90s as well, Soul Train was one of the main platforms you wanted to be on to launch your music. And they used to have the Soul Train scramble board where they would ask a question about a famous artist, famous Black artist, and then the 2 contestants would just put their letters together to spell their name. Now this spells out omnia está liquid, which is Latin for everything is something, which I believe explains all the things happening in the video. So everything in the video is something. Did I catch everything? Hell no. But I would say that the 2 main themes throughout the video is, of course, the West Coast, but also references to Tupac Shakur. So let's get started with scene 1. So in scene 1, the first thing you recognize is that the room that they're in is very similar to the room that the Roots shot their video for the song The Next Movement in. And that could be Kendrick signaling the start of a next movement or a new movement in hip hop, as well as kind of a shout out to Questlove, who had a lot of hate and criticism for the battle when Kendrick started to win. If you pay attention, when Drake had released his first 2 records, Taylor Made Freestyle and Push-Ups, there wasn't a lot of criticism for the battle. Only after Kendrick responded with Euphoria, Meet the Gram, 616 in LA, did people start saying, oh, this is bad for hip hop and they're taking it too far. So we know that the West Coast does get a lot of hate. Kendrick, of course, mentioned this, and I think Questlove showed that in his critique of the battle anyway. And shout out to the Roots. Also, the video overall represents Kendrick's roots and where he comes from, of course, Compton and the rest of California. But let's continue. Now, the raindrop chandelier could also, it of course mimicked the sound at the beginning of the record. Sorry for the microphone hit. And it also could signal Kendrick's reign. That's a stretch though, that's a reach. Now, the Compton Street exit signs. Now, this is just a sign that shows the main exits off of, I believe it's the 105 freeway in California into Compton. You see on the map there, those are kind of 3 main streets that encompass most of Compton there. You see East Compton is past Long Beach Boulevard. That's all I could pull from that. The girl dancing on the side, I don't know what that's referencing really, or if it has a double meaning at all. Same thing with the little kid standing on the street sign. I know that has to mean something. I just can't really think of anything without really reaching too far. I know Section 80, the name of Kendrick's first album, is also meaning of traffic codes, but that's all I could really get from that one. So in scene 2, now, of course, this is a tribute to the sets in LA. You have the Damus on the right there in the red taking a picture. I think they said that was G Perico against the wall. Of course, he's representing the Community Revolution in Progress organization. Not sure the brother who's dancing around in the striped shirt, not sure what that's supposed to represent. Now, the group dancing to the far right of the video, to me, it looked like they were Hoover stomping. I'm not an expert in LA dances and the set dances. That's what it looked like to me. So I'm not sure if this is a call to TDE because it kind of represents each set that they from, so to speak. But I definitely think it represents how Kendrick saw Compton growing up. So maybe that's what it's supposed to represent. That's why he started with the kids in the beginning. The fashion throughout the video does definitely represent LA at different time periods throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, up to the 2000s, up to, of course, current day. Now, when we get to scene 3, this is definitely a tribute to Oakland and the Bay, Mac Dre, the hyphy movement, the Thiz movement. Now he has the untitled African-American flags hanging on each side of the room. which was an art piece, or it's a replica of an art piece done by David Hammonds, who was from Springfield, Illinois. Shout out David, being from Illinois, from the state, you know what I'm saying? It could also be a shout out to the guy from Twitter, Ebony Prince, who leaked the images that got Drake all shook up during the battle that Kendrick used for 616 in LA and Meet the Grams. Now, the name of the flag is Untitled, and we know that Kendrick has an album called Untitled as well. That's also a little bit of a reach. Now, if you haven't heard by now, the book that Kendrick is looking at, though, is a book that's titled How to Be More Like Kendrick Lamar for Dummies. And he is sitting and, of course, studying the book. He also has a blue and pink balloon representing, of course, a boy and a girl, like gender reveal type thing. So I think if you look at just him in the scene, right, while they're partying around him, he's sitting down reading and studying his book. And I think the balloons represent him also studying for his children, to raise his children properly. So that's how to be more like Kendrick Lamar. Don't party, study, be a man, take care of your kids. So Kendrick in the scene is actually representing what would be in the book, How to Be More Like Kendrick for Dummies, which is a very creative way to get that point across. Now, when we go to scene 3 is packed with symbolism, all of which I did not understand. Now, just by itself, the man to the right holding up the rings of hood love. Now, of course, him holding up those rings, if you saw the movie Do the Right Thing, that's a ode to Radio Raheem and that movie. Now, the person actually holding up the rings is Taz Arnold, who was a producer on To Pimp a Butterfly and is also somebody Kendrick takes some of his fashion from. Now, the rings reading Hood Love could represent a reference to the movie Poetic Justice. Here is where we start to get into some of the Tupac references. But moving right along, we have an ode to the Ice-T Power cover. And that album, this would be the back of the album, or the inside of the album, the inside of the tape, I should say. And that would be his wife at the time, or his partner at the time, Darlene O.G. Ortiz. Shout out to her. She's on the Corey Hogan 5150 show. But that was an iconic album cover, as well as that was also the year the movie Colors came out, which was about the street gangs in LA. I think it was the first major movie about the street gangs in LA. And Ice-T, of course, recorded the title track and, of course, starred in the film as well. And that led into the Power album. So, again, a lot of LA history going on in those references there. Now, Storm DeBarge, who performed at the Pop Out, who was one of the dancers at the Pop Out, was in the Not Like Us video, is the young lady dancing behind Kendrick. Now, the scene off to the far right of the screen where the two guys get into it, the one guy knocks the one dude out, and then his girl comes up and knocks him out, and it seems that they rob him. But the first thing the girl does is pull his flag. He has a red flag in his pants. She takes his flag first. So I don't know what that is referencing. I want to say that's a scene from a movie, but I just couldn't remember what it was. And help me out in the comments, y'all. What does that remind you of? Anyway, moving right along. Scene 5. So the Cuzzos off to the far left, taking a picture in front. Now, this was very popular if you were younger in the late 90s, early 2000s. If you went to the club, if you went to the school dance, even at the mall, they would have these backdrops where we would just take our coolest pictures in front of these backdrops. I mean, these days, those pictures are embarrassing, but back then we were very, very cool, very fly, taking pictures in front of those backdrops. Now, I already mentioned and explained what Soul Train was and the Soul Train board, but also we have to remember the Tupac references and an incident that happened at the 1996 Soul Train Awards that's alleged involving Tupac and Suge, maybe running down on the artists that they did not like. But also, what I want to say is going from scene 5 into scene 6 is very interesting because, again, the message was written in Latin, and then it switches right to scene 6 where you start with the Latin culture, Latin American culture, and an ode to American Me, a film about Latin American culture in Los Angeles. And Tupac also sampled this movie in the song Death Around the Corner. And then on the far left, you see Kendrick kneeling down to what seems to be a Catholic candlelight vigil type situation, which is popular amongst Latin Americans. Of course, they are mostly Christian and Catholic, due, of course, to colonization by the Latin/Italian/Spanish colonizers. And we know Kendrick and the colonizer theme is heavy throughout a lot of Kendrick's lyrics and the visuals so far this year. So I think that's also a continuation of that switch from the Latin words to the Latin culture, and then the candlelight vigil on the side. I don't think that's by accident. Now, the Nate Dogg classic CD spinning over what looks like roses on the ground. I can't tell, of course. That would also be a reference to Tupac, the rose that grew from concrete. Now, Nate Dogg's debut, of course, was with Warren G and the song Regulators, which was on the soundtrack to Above the Rim, which was one of Tupac's biggest early roles in a film as Birdie. And it also could reference the song Tupac and Nate Dogg collaborate together with that included many artists from the West Coast. I think Drew the Hound is on there, Snoop is on there. It's All About You. Okay, so that was a big West Coast collaborative record featuring Pac and Nate Dogg. Now, the little kid against the back wall towards the left, of course, is an ode or a reference to the kid from Menace to Society. Now, Tupac was in the movie Menace to Society, but he had a difference with the directors, one of the directors of the film, the Hughes brothers, and the story goes that Pac may have assaulted him, whooped him out on the set due to their differences. So of course he was kicked off the movie, and it was rumored that he wanted to play the old dog part, but they cast him as Sharif, I believe. And if you youngers never seen Menace to Society, don't watch it because it's gonna give you bad ideas. It was a different time then, and hey, had to do what we had to do. But anyway, scene 7. Now, I cannot tell if that is a GNX Buick behind them or not. We're gonna say that it is, so that would be a reference to the album in general. Now, the sisters, the 3 big sisters, the 3 healthy sisters, dancing in front of the car. That could be a reference to the I Get Around video by Tupac, because to me, it seems like they're all 3 of them are dressed like Tupac as well, especially the one on the far left with the ripped pants. If you remember that interview he did when he was in art school, when he was very young, before he was Tupac, when he still had the box and all that, he had those same types of jeans on. Tupac was known to wear the jeans with the wife beater with the boots as well. So that's the only thing I could pull from that. The brother on the far left getting attacked by the pit bull, I still don't know what that's about. Can't figure out what that's referencing at all. Now, the little kid sitting down controlling the car is a reference to Kendrick himself. And what gives that away is that when he references himself in the song, the picture cuts right to the little kid's face looking at the camera. And on Twitter or Reddit or somewhere, I read that there's an old picture of Kendrick playing with a Buick GNX toy with one of his friends, and that's what that is supposed to be a reference to. Now, moving on to the final scene, scene 8. Now, to the far left, the Panther statue is kind of a replica of the Black Panther Party, which was founded in Oakland in 1966. So this statue was very popular throughout the 60s and the 70s. If your parents didn't have it, your grandparents had it, or your auntie, uncles had it, somebody in your family had one of these statues, because the Black Panther Party had chapters all throughout the major black cities in the United States during that time. Now, on the wall in the back is a painting of Jesus. It's a black Jesus, and it's called the Painting His Voyage, Life of Jesus, and it's by Vincent Barzoni. Now, of course, we know Kendrick has the Jesus references all throughout his career, really, but definitely through Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. Now, the red 40 price tag on the painting, I'm not sure what that represents without taking a hella reach at it, but I'm gonna leave that alone right now. But let's move on. Now, of course, standing next to Kendrick to the far right of the screen, the brother there is imitating the Isaac Hayes Black Moses cover. It was a cool album. My father had that album back in the day. I don't know if he still has it or not. That might be one of the albums that we tore up when we were kids. But it was an album where it folded out into a cross, and the picture on the front, it folded out into that picture like a big life-size poster of that picture and that pose that he's taking, and that was known as the Black Moses album. So you got Black Jesus, you got Black Moses. Now, do I think that is referencing something bigger? Yes, I do, but I won't get into it until I do the lyrics explained or for the song Reincarnated, right? Because I think the messaging and what he's doing in that song and what he's relaying is kind of going over our heads a little bit, but we'll get to that when I do that video. It'll be coming out soon, trust me. Also, one of the most popular songs by Isaac Hayes. If you know the song Me Against the World by Tupac, you know it samples that record Walk On By, which was a very popular record for Isaac Hayes. As well as Isaac Hayes did appear in the Temptations video for Tupac while he was in prison. A lot of celebrities got together and appeared in that video for that hit record at that time. If you've never seen it, go check it out. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. And then at the end of the video, Kendrick drops a banner for the Compton Christmas Parade. Now, most people are saying, is this when we're going to get the next album? I don't think so. That's a little quick to release a whole nother project. I know people saying, well, it's a double CD and that's wishful thinking. I still don't think if there's a second project, which I think there is, that won't be till next year, early next year, probably before the Super Bowl for sure. But I think they will probably be another major concert for the Compton Christmas Parade. And in case we haven't figured it out yet, Kendrick is responding to the accusations made during the battle, right? And he's proving a lot of those accusations wrong as far as his status in his city and amongst his community. That's what we are witnessing right now. So shout out to Paperwork Poppy and all the other haters out there in the hip hop media and so on and so forth right now. But it's gonna be a long year for you all if you're gonna stay on that side. So let me know what you think in the comments below. What did I miss? Now, obvious references I did not make, especially if you are an African-American person. Some of the obvious stuff I did not make. However, you from California, y'all should be really trying to make videos right now. I'm gonna be honest with you because I know there's some California references I didn't catch at all. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll probably do a part 2 if there's enough in the comments. I'll do one feature in the comments like I always do. But that's all I got, man. Let me know what you think. Let's discuss it in the comments. Hit that like, share, subscribe. Thank y'all for watching as always, and we out.